It's not only about the bragging rights, it's about representation, prowess, flexibility, and adequate information for a solution-focused initiative. We crowned a champion in the third edition of the Speak and Solve initiative, SASI. It was a tough challenge, but an ultimate winner emerged. Taking the trophy, which has been in the custody of the Harare Institute of Technology, the Midland State University held the cup for the first time, marking themselves as the team to beat in the fourth edition of the SASI debate. They fought a good fight. Will they follow in the footsteps of their predecessors and be the winners this year? Do they have what it takes to take it home yet again?
My name is Charlie Ngube, LIE at the end. I'm the Deputy Dean of Students here under the Division of Student Affairs, but currently I'm the Acting Dean of Students. What I expect is a wonderful fair play from all the teams involved. I know that these debates are very good in transforming students' character. They are transformative in the sense that our students will develop teamwork. They will develop that never give up attitude, that it's never over until it's over. So this is my expectation. Fair play, that spirit of resilience for all the teams, and I know they will do it. Here I'm talking about the whole team, not just the Nust students. Yes, specific message, especially for Mary and Adine, our Nust students. I would like to say to them, fight on, never give up. We know you will make it. It's just to borrow what the former American President Barack Obama speech. He used to say, yes, you can do it. We know you will do it. So we are saying, Mary and Nadine, yes, you will do it. Please carry high the Nust flag. Do us proud like you have done before. So we know they will do it. Nust is a brand. If you say Nust, just that name alone says a lot. So we are wishing them very good luck. We are wishing them well to fly high this Nust flag, this Nust brand. We are wishing them to make us proud, never let us down. We want the Nust brand to remain Nust brand. They should think in other terms, not only thinking in other terms, also think outside the box, if need be. In fighting and winning, we want them to win, and we know they will win.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Ann.
My name is Adin.
And we're from Nust. Very excited about the debate competition that came about, the Speak and Solve initiative debate, and what Team Nust should expect fireworks from us.
I mean, I don't think you should expect anything less other than excellence. So be ready to watch out for the debate tournament coming up. We are Team Nust.
We're very excited. Well, we're excited to be presenting our school, and we think that because we're people who have worked together, people who've grown together, people who've learned together, and people who have an appreciation of sexual and reproductive health issues, especially in Nust, well, we're excited about the team, we're excited about what we can offer and what we're going to bring about.
I think for the first time in my debating career, I think I'm very confident walking this tournament because I've made it on my side. But
Yay!
that's just the gist of it. I think I'm really excited. We hope to make this year even better. You know, we hope to bring more action, yeah.
Yes.
Because we're also going there to win. I think that's the motive.
Yeah, the trophy has to come to the city of Kings.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm the bubbly one, so you should expect a lot of noise from me and a lot of. I'm also one of the most community-centered people, so you expect a lot of realness, a lot of real issues, a lot of real talk, and a lot of youth matters coming up.
I'm just a fun guy, so just expect to have fun in the tournament. So if you're not there, then it's your loss. But definitely make sure you need to be there because it's gonna be fun. That's what I can tell you. I think we've seen in the past that Nust has been able to produce the best student, and we're just an example of that. So I think that's one thing that people ought to know, that everywhere you go, if you're a Nust student, you should walk there just knowing that, you know, your job is already half done for you. So just go there and finish the job. That's what every Nust student brings wherever they go.
Yeah, one of the most the toughest places to ever exist in for tertiary education. But like, yeah, one of the more Nust is unique. It produces one of the best students, some of the best group of students ever, and also endurance, my guys. We can endure any situation, it's fine.
Sure.
So throw anything at us. You see it at the Speak and Solve initiative. Well, we're from the National University of Science and Technology.
And we think in other terms.
My name is Fadzai Chakawia. I am the Dean of Students at Midland State University. The expectations are very high. We are the current champions at the moment, and we're looking forward to retaining the championship. It has been a very exciting time in terms of preparation and in terms of getting to where we should be as Midland State University. So our expectations are very high this year as well. Our wish is that our students always give of their best. We would love to have the cup back at MSU where it belongs, but we also know that competition is competition. What is important is to have a good competitive ground for everybody. So we are really working hard to try and bring the cup back home, and we are confident that we will. The competition is really going a long way in enlightening issues of SRH and in really building a conscious community among our youths. So we are very thankful to say what for this very, very good initiative that has actually made a huge impact within our own MSU family and the entire community of Zimbabwe. My best wish is that we continue to raise our flag high, our hands, our minds, our destiny, and that we continue with the flagship of excellence and being a pace-setting institution. We are unique as Midland State University because we give our students a platform to be themselves. We support them in every fora, and we try as much as we can to be a pace-setting institution. And what that means is that we look to international best practices and we bring it home to our students, and we can incorporate that into our daily activities as well as our community-based initiatives. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have had to adjust the manner in which we give out our SRH information. We know that these are trying times, but we are trying to readjust. And I encourage everyone out there to make use of our virtual platforms in increasing knowledge as we would if it were the old normal. So as we go into this new normal, I encourage all of you to continue being current in our SRH issues amongst others. We are the generation that will make the difference, and we're looking to you for answers. So research wisely and also give as much as you can in terms of practically receiving the information that you should and dispersing the information to everybody who needs it. So as Midland State University, we are being COVID-19 compliant, and we encourage all of you to continue masking up, sanitizing, and practicing social distance.
We are using the theme Debating with Hope for a Better and Healthier Future for All. So please make sure that you are also part of this initiative in line with the theme. Make sure your comments are coming through fast and quick. We want to see your thoughts on the debate session that's going on. Now, we do have Nust and MSU ready to battle. Again, the pressure's still on you. They are our reigning champions currently. Now, our motion is This House believes that LGBTQ plus activists in African countries should use and advocate for LGBTQ plus rights and individuals using their local historical terms. I'm not going to say the terms outright. Instead of Western terminology. Let me say that again because that confused even me. All right, this House believes that LGBTQ plus activists in African countries should use and advocate for LGBTQ plus rights, and individuals should not be using their historical terms, we know the derogatory terms, and instead use Western terminology, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, etc., etc. Are we clear on our motion? Are we clear on our motion? All right, now I'm going to take us through our logistics because we have lost time from the last round. All right, so affirmative, your opening speech will now be 3 minutes. All right, after which we will have cross-examination from the opposers, and that is now 1 minute. Are we clear? All right, after which opposers, you then give us your opening speech, and that's another 3 minutes. Affirmative, you then cross-examine for 1 minute. After that, we go into the rebuttal stage. Opposers, you will begin, followed by the affirmative, and that is 3 minutes on each side. And finally, we will have our closing remarks. Opposers, you will begin, followed by the affirmative team, and that is now 2 minutes. Are we clear on our logistics? All right, affirmative, you are opening this session. Are you ready? Your clock starts now.
Panel, the queer community in Africa is bleeding, largely characterized by killings and largely characterized by homophobia, and also the retrogressiveness of states in Africa in illegalizing homosexuality and killing those people. We think that we ought to change the narrative in Africa in order to realize that homosexuality is inherently African. How do we do that? We think that, yes, it's true that these terms are derogatory, but these are local and historical names that ought to be embraced in order to change the narrative. What we want here, in order for activists to be accepted in a community, one, you have to change the narrative. Great example, radical feminists in today's society have embraced the derogatory terms such as slut or bitch because they were particularly weaponized against women, but they've used these terms in order to embrace power and to make sure that it's inherently in them, which is what we value in this community. Three things that we're going to ask and answer in today's debate is one, how does the LGBT community claim back power and change the narrative so that people understand that it is not a Western idea. This is things that existed in Africa in history, right? You ought to understand how the existence of gay people has been eliminated from African history. The moment when they claim back this power, it means that they're able to advocate for these things. Second, we're going to tell you how particular we think that activism ought to be organic, right? In a point in time when you take Western terms and you explain to a woman in Cholocho what a trans woman is, right? The only thing that they understand is a Kochani or a Stavane, right? You tell them that these are the people that exist in that particular community, they relate to that struggle. You cannot particularly come with the Western terms, right? Secondly, the narrative that exists in Zimbabwe, because a lot of politicians saying that this is not an African phenomenon because they have weaponized local names. At a point in time when you say, what, these people exist in Africa and these are the names that they have. They claim back the power, you make activism relatable. When you're an activist, right, you want a lot of people to buy into your struggle, right? You ought also to understand that a lot of people that are being abused are people from rural areas, right? Or people from rural areas or that come from conservative communities. These are non-white and people that do not buy into Western ideals. You ought to teach them using local terms. And you also make sure that people that are gay or people that are transgender, right, are inherently African individuals. It is not a Western phenomenon. Therefore, we think that this is activism that we particularly are talking to about in our side of the house. Secondly, what Samantha is going to extend on in terms of what is the power of language or what is the power of local language and local relatability in terms of activism, right? So it's going to tell you how particularly you create reliability and you create organic authenticity and also you create a progressive change in Africa. Within that progressive change in Africa ought to be organic and ought to be homegrown. And Western ideals are very problematic in coming to changing status quo within African states. With this, we beg to propose.
Time. All right. Did you just clap hands for him? All right. Opposers, your cross-examination clock starts now.
first question, do you agree to the fact that these names, number one, are derogatory, number two,
Turn the mic towards you, sorry.
number two, they emanate from a place of shaming and discrimination?
Yes, we do agree. But when you particularly take back those names, it means that you are taking back power as a minority group and you are changing the narrative, which means that is activism at the end of the day.
Second question, if you're trying to change the narrative and you do consider the fact that these names emanate from a place of discrimination, then why are you using the very same oppressive system to try and change people's minds?
Panel, I've given you an example. A precedent has been set by radical feminists and also precedents by black people when they embrace the words like nigger and also sluts to change narrative and spearhead change in their society.
Last question, do you consider the fact that Western influence has done a great change in changing minds and culture?
It has not done anything for gay men and queer women in Africa.
Thank you.
All right, and that is time. Okay, opposers, are you ready with your opening speech? Your clock starts now.
Historical oppression of the LGBTQI emanates from traditionally oppressive structures that come from society. This looks like society calling people names, shaming them for who they are, right? So which means the kind of names that emanated from community, from a historical perspective, right, were number one, oppressive, number two, they were shaming, and number three, they were discriminatory. Something that the affirmative clearly states, right? But then we want to transition from a state of being naturally conservative, but for us to be fluid and allow for the existence of every individual in society, not labeling them according to what they are, but giving them basic human rights because of who they are, right? So what is the best way in which activists can do this? Firstly, we'll tell you how the power of language is important. Language is not only what you speak, but they are like, there is symbolism and particular attachments to words that people use. Firstly, if a word emanates from a discriminatory basis, it means it is used firstly to shame you, right? Which means the kind of symbolism that that word is attached to is one that is oppressive. When an LGBTQI activist tries to break barriers, tries to break stereotypes, tries to break what they have been defined as, right? We tell you firstly, the LGBTQI community in itself has got bad experiences with those words. Those very words are the ones that have been used to oppress them, to shame them, and continue the killings that he continues to talk about. So in particular, that it is not like a good way for the LGBTQ society to continue running to the same historical terms that have been oppressing them for such a long time. Secondly, we tell you why it's not good for the community in essence, right? When you want to change perceptions and like change narratives, you do not use or you do not conform to the standards that society has set, right? What you want to do is you want to break a cycle. And how do you break the cycle? Thank you, Denzel, for such an amazing example where you talk about how feminists use things like bitch and things like whore, and then they use that for their own advantage. What did the feminists do? And that is what we advocate for. They infiltrated a space that accommodated them, right? And then you use that space to then garner local support. What are we talking about? We think firstly, Western terminologies has got a global village support for LGBTQI activists, right? So when they infiltrate into a space that allows them to exist, they can then move from there and expand into society. Why do we think Western terminology is important in this particular case, right? Firstly, Western terminology already has buy-in from firstly the youths and then also from the global village, right? So because we have that buy-in, it is easier for something that people can relate to, for it to infiltrate into previously conservative spaces. That's why bitches exist, because Western media allowed them to exist in that particular fight. And why do we think that is also important for the LGBTQI society? Because it allows them to exist freely. Thanks.
I think this is a thing now, people clapping hands for the... Okay, all right, your cross-examination starts now.
How do you infiltrate Zimba in your Western terms?
Okay, you begin with Bulawayo and you begin with Harare. When the youths from Harare and Bulawayo visit Ujimba and they watch Zalo, they can see gay men existing on TV and they know that this is a anomaly with fluidity and existing society.
So the word homosexual was derogatory in America when this movement began. How do you then comment on the transition that happened. We think it's de-traumatization. Please confirm on that.
Thank you, because the context that exists within an American space, right, and one that exists within the African space are things that are different. The context in America allowed liberalism as a wave to take place within the society, but the African context is more conservative. So you can use what is already there to infiltrate into the conservative space.
How do you become authentic when you're running away from your local names? Where is the authenticity?
The authenticity comes into individuals existing within a space where they are accommodative in, and then they can use that space to infiltrate into societal... something. All right. Are you ready with your rebuttal, opposers? Your clock starts now.
Thank you very much to the affirmative side. So we do ask them certain questions, and to our surprise, they concede to all the questions that we ask them. We ask you first, do you agree to the fact that these names are derogatory and they emanate from a place of shaming and discrimination? They say yes. We ask them, then how do you plan to change a system of oppression when you are trying to use the very same way that these people were used to discriminate? They fail to answer that. And lastly, we ask them a simple question. To what extent has Western influence changed how cultures in the world is changing and all that, right? And this is what we come and tell you as side non-affirmative. My first speaker comes and tells you how we cannot change narratives in Africa by simply using the same names that were used to shame these people. We come and tell you that Africa as a whole is a place whereby Western influence has taken a huge impact on the youths and everyone in the world. We come and tell you how the Western influence has a greater impact of changing people's minds, because we come and tell you that our fathers and forefathers are the ones who came up with these names to shame people in our society. Hence, the LGBT community in Africa has felt left out because they are not given that platform to exist freely. And we come and tell you that with the Western influence that has influenced the global, that has reached the whole world at large, we believe that this is a platform that we can use, a platform that is safe for everyone to interact and talk about these things. We come and tell you how the Western influence has encouraged the way people dress, the music they listen to, and we can use these platforms to change people's minds. We come and tell you that for you to reach Ramafungwa or those rural places, we come and tell you that it starts in Harare and Bulawayo, those major cities, because these people on holidays, they go back to their rural places. And we come and tell you that with the influence that Western influence has made on the impact of the youth, we come and tell you that it has done a good job in changing people's minds. They come and talk about how it's not authentic for us to adopt these names. And we tell you that the issue here is not really about how authentic or whatsoever, but we come and tell you that for us to change people's minds, right, you cannot use the very same names that these people were used to be oppressed with. We come and tell you that the best way to change people's minds is to change how they think, is to change how they view certain things. And we come and tell you that in a setup like America, the way they view things has largely changed due to their reach to everyone. And come and tell you that in Africa, right? In Africa, due to the influence that the Western culture has done in Africa, we can achieve this goal. How? By adopting the Western ways of doing things. And this is what we come and show you in this debate, that by us introducing or adopting these Western terminologies, we can achieve a better reach in changing people's minds.
Time. Okay. Ready with your rebuttal? Your clock starts now.
Panel, we think that when you talk of matters of social engineering, we do not tiptoe around the problem. We channel a head-on approach that is radical, because we are penetrating into a system that is very resistant. We think gay people are not being killed in Sandton. They're being killed in places like Tembisa. They're being killed in places like Soweto, where the place is primitive. So we think that the moment we use local terms that people relate to, we think we better then penetrate and social engineer those places that are primitive, that are so resisting, because this is where this debate has a problem in, right? We think we actually don't get this whole idea of we need to take the Western approach because it's the one that people accept better. We think that is problematic on its own. The fact that homosexuality is okay because it's an English word, but Ngochane is bad, we think that is where the problem is, and this is what we want to solve in today's debate. One, we think that we want to demystify this whole idea that homosexuality is a foreign phenomenon, it's un-African, it's unheard of. We think the more we actually flood words like Ngochane, the more it's normal to see Ngochane and live with them. We think you de-traumatize the primitive minds of African people, right? So we think this only happens when we flood these words in our societies, in our communities. The moment we start repeating them and normalizing them, we think we are actually engineering a social change. Secondly, right, we think de-traumatization only happens through the concept of flooding. I've already mentioned that, right? Thirdly, right, we think changing the narrative does not happen when we're actually running away from the actual problem. We think the fact that we think Caitlyn is transgender and that's okay, and we don't say that Caitlyn is gay is already problematic. Why? Because we have adopted a lot of Western culture through things like hip-hop, through things like television, and we are normalizing them because we think they are okay in the Western context. But what happens to the African context? What happens? Because these people did not fly from the West and come and lived in Africa. They were born in Africa. So they originate from Africa. They are actually authentic African people. So why then do we need to identify them using the Western terms when we can actually identify them using our own local terms? They talk of how these terms come from a shameful place, right? We think the only way we win is when we use the same weapon that is used to shame these people against the very people that are shaming them, right? We think that is how we win. We win when we take back the power of these derogatory names and actually make them normal and make them acceptable in the African context. So we win in today's debate because we achieve all our three goals, right? One, we want to take back the power associated with these names and use it in our favor. Two, we want relatability. And three, we want to de-traumatize the African society.
Hip-hop is blamed for everything. It's so unfair. All right, are you ready with your closing remarks? Your clock. 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on your clock. Is that enough time for you to say what you need to say? Your clock starts now.
Panel, we think that saying Ngochane is normal. But what is normal? What's normal about saying Ngochane is the oppressive nature of the word. It's the discriminatory nature of the word. That's why when you see a person walking over there and say, oh, iyo Ngochane, iyo whatsoever, it doesn't come from a good place, right? So what Samantha and Denzel are simply advocating for is for us to normalize the oppressive systems that they're running away from and that they're trying to break, which is something that we think firstly doesn't work. We tell you how the LGBTQI in itself does not benefit anything from it, right? So I'm going to tell you how this debate went down using 3 particular things. I'm going to use the stakeholders. Firstly, show you which side better satisfies the LGBTQI in itself and pushes the aims of the activists. Secondly, how community then responds. And thirdly, which of the 2 sides offers a better platform for the growing of the LGBTQI society, and then the final trickle down. Firstly, the LGBTQI++ community in itself, right? We tell you how you can never use words that were once used to emotionally blackmail you and say you're somehow taking away power. You never take away power, but you perpetuate a cycle of society having power over you. You can never say you want to take back power, yet you're using the same tools. What you ought to do as a movement, you ought to then take up space where it's acceptable and then expand. Secondly, changing societal perceptions and narratives, right? You can never use the same oppressive word to try and infiltrate into someone's mind. When you go to Uzumba Maramba Fungwe there, right, and teach the children about Ngochane, when you say Ngochane, the only symbolism that they attach to it is an abnormal person that's not even supposed to exist within society, right? So if you use those same terms, you never get to break down the perceptions and the narratives, but you get to build upon the discriminatory nature of them, right? Then thirdly, where is the platform offered for LGBTQI activists to further their goals? We think firstly, when you use natural languages, you don't get buy-in from the LGBTQI itself and community, but when you use something... Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. All right, your closing remarks start now.
Panel, listen. The use of Western weights such as gay, transgender has not really helped African gay men and African women. That's why today we still recognize it as a Western concept. That's why African leaders are still not willing to accept it, because it is inherently advocated in Western terms and not localized. Once you localize activism, it means that people get to buy in, people get to relate to your particular struggle. This is what you do not get from the side of the house. They also do not tell us how do they solve the current problems in terms of, we tell you, people are dying, people are getting killed in conservative communities where they're being referred to as Nkochanis. You cannot jump into a rural area and teach them about what a transgender is. Only what they know Nkochane that lives next door. Tell them, you know what, the particular person that you call Nkochane deserves rights. The particular person that you call in this name, you ought to change their perception. Because we tell you, Speaker, a lot of people in Africa really do not care about Western terms. They want to embrace people within their nativeness. They want the originality of a struggle. 3 things that we give you in today's debate to tell you how queer people ought to reclaim their existence in Africa. They ought to reclaim their inherent African identity. We tell you how activism ought to be authentic and reliable, right? And ought to be efficient. We get no efficacy of activism in the side of the house in terms of solving problems that we are having in status quo in Africa. You get solving of problems in our side of the house. We tell you that the moment you take away a weapon that is being used by an oppressor and you particularly empower yourself using that same particular tool, you change the narrative and you change the world into a better place. Never been proud to propose into this debate, because in our world you get several things that help the queer community in terms of them appreciating that in Africa they were there. They did not just come in as a Western phenomenon. You also change the narratives around this particular states and say, you know what, these people are inherently African and Big Gay is inherently African. With this, we've never been proud to propose.
All right, and he is ceding 5 seconds to me. Now we are officially 2 battles away from the semi-finals. Are you excited? Who are you following? Who are you rooting from? But also, while you think about that, I must pose the question, do you think, as an individual, do you think, and please don't peer pressure each other in the comment section, as an individual, do you think that using a derogatory term, what should be a derogatory term, everyday flooding, as others would call it, flooding will then make somebody feel bad about it, or will it give them back their power? Or should we be calling spades big spoons and making them feel better about themselves? Which side of the debate are you sitting on? Let us know in the comment section. Remember, the hashtags are hashtag SASI for Hope. That's the number 4, not FOR, but the number 4, SASI for Hope and SASI Debate 2021. When we come back, we are taking a step closer to those semi-finals. I'm excited. I hope you are.
Hi guys, my name is Giselle. Hi guys, my name is Maya. Child abuse must come to your store. If you have been abused, call the Say White call center number 577 if in case of abuse.